Welcome to Brief History Conspiracy.
This week, the coronavirus.
This is going to be a really fun episode considering how many hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people have died in the next 6 months. Just occurred to me.
Yeah, it's quite a harbouring topic, isn't it? I suppose, in the sense of the.
Well, let's hope it fizzles out and it's like that next big thing that in a few years we'll go, oh, do you remember that coronavirus thing? Let's hope that's the case. And not, oh, do you remember that Spanish influenza thing? Let's hope it's not that.
I do find it weird how they've jumped onto the name coronavirus when that's just like for this particular strain or mutation of the coronavirus, COVID-19. Why did we not call the previous SARS outbreaks in 2002, 2003 or 2012?
Or the MERS outbreak.
Coronavirus. It just doesn't seem...
They've latched onto it for some reason anyway. If you're new to our channel, please like, subscribe, leave a comment and hit that little bell notification, and it really does help us out. I think you can watch the news and find out what the coronavirus is, can't you?
Yes.
Oh, it's one of these. It's a family of diseases, family of viruses, I should say, that can be spread from animal to human and human to animal. They think it might have already started to transmit back to dogs, but it's not been confirmed.
Oh dear.
At the point of recording, worldwide, there's been about 80,000 confirmed cases and 3,000 deaths. Most of those deaths have been in China, to be fair, but this thing is spreading. Mm-hmm. The numbers are going up quickly, and in the UK today, for the first time, we've seen cases where it's actually been spread from person to person. So people that haven't been to China in the last month
or travelled through airports to other foreign countries
have actually been confirmed as having the coronavirus. So, or the novel coronavirus, to give it its proper name. What's the actual code? What's the actual strand called?
The mutation is called COVID-19.
Yeah. So, as we're a conspiracy channel, we'll talk about the conspiracies. And some of them are crazy. But
well, there's always a little bit of crazy with some conspiracy theories, isn't there?
We're an interesting bunch, aren't we?
Yes.
But we'll start off with China. So the first few cases started appearing in China December.
Yeah, early December.
They didn't really do much about it.
No, didn't report anything till January regarding the outbreak.
Yeah. Even when doctors started to say, we think there's something going on here, the government pulled them in the middle of the night and said, no, there isn't. Shut it.
Yes, there was the doctor, wasn't there? I forget what was his name?
Wen Liang.
Wen Liang. Yeah, he was in a group with a load of doctors that were in his medical class from university, and they were chatting in the group. And had identified that it was a new mutation of the coronavirus family, probably by mid-December in the chat group amongst this group of doctors.
Well, early January, he was forced to change that theory, and then on the 7th of February, he died from the coronavirus. So I think they just generally didn't believe it. After the SARS outbreak in 2002. Which infected 8,000 people and killed 774, that's a kill ratio of 1 in 10.
I think it was about 8% was the official fatality rate for that.
Well, let's do
that strain.
He said, she says.
Well, yeah, it is subject to a bit of fluctuation because it depends on whether you believe the numbers that you're being provided with are exact or whether they're lower than the real totals. And inevitably, they're always real than the lower totals.
And this is the one thing with the Chinese that we're talking about at the moment is, can we actually believe the numbers they're telling us?
I would suggest no, because if you fail to report it for a month that you've had an outbreak, you really haven't got a handle on it, and you're more just trying to hush it than you are trying to investigate it.
And he's talking about confirmed cases as well, so that's when... I mean, these numbers we're talking about are confirmed when somebody's had the test. Initially, they were having to send all those tests to Beijing and then send back. I mean, it was...
Yes.
Even in the UK, our numbers of confirmed cases is probably a lot higher. But people wander around and don't really know they're that ill. I've got a head cold at the moment. I could have the coronavirus.
Yes, the original testing process wasn't very very good in terms of the length of time it was taking to get the test results back. So a new test was developed in January at some point for
Yeah.
it. And then I
Sped things up
believe
a lot quicker, yeah.
that made a huge spike in the number of
Well, it would, because as soon
confirmed
as you start
cases.
being able to actually see something, when you open your eyes and start looking,
Yeah,
you're going to have a spike in numbers, aren't you?
So there was a huge spike then.
I mean, but then China did react in the way only China can. And it removed everybody's rights. It locked down the entire province.
I forget what date it was that they locked down the
Yeah.
the province of
The Wuhan quarantine started on January 23rd.
okay. Well,
So that was a good month after, Dr. Li Wenliang was talking about it.
and I'm not sure whether I don't know if they quarantined the city of Wuhan first or they just quarantined the whole Hubei province.
It was Wuhan first and then the province about a week later.
So by
which
the end
was-
of January, it was the whole of the province. Right.
Yeah.
Well, Wuhan's 11.5 million
Yeah.
people. The Hubei province is 58.5 million people.
Yeah, that's like quarantine in England. Like all of it.
Um,
There's pictures coming out and videos coming out. It's just like they've just put speakers out in the road saying, "If you leave your house, we will shoot you," and sort of thing. And this sort of, I mean, there's loads of videos coming out as well that are about like mass burial and mass cremations and all this sort of thing. Only China could build a hospital specially for this within a week. There's
It was. I think it was originally planned to be done in a week, but it might have taken 2 weeks to get it to take it. It was a 1,000-patient hospital
We'd still be
specifically
talking
for the
about it.
coronavirus, and they did that. Yeah, that's just phenomenal.
Yeah, the Chinese, when stuff like this happens, you really want the Chinese to be in the forefront of it because they just get stuff done.
They do.
They don't really care about your feelings. They just get it done. That's a double-edged sword, obviously.
Well, it is. It is. But it's probably is it better than all of the stuff
think
going
it
on in
depends on the
America where
situation.
people are complaining about being offended all
Yeah.
of the time?
We're the worst.
We do it as a lot as well, but
The British are the worst. We'll get offended about things and then apologise about it as well.
that is a very British trait.
I'm
Yes.
so sorry. I did that. The cases obviously are spreading like crazy. There's been numbers knocking around today while I was watching the news saying about anything up to 80% of the population in the UK could get this. And that's what they're planning for, is anything up to 80% of the population. 80% of the population in the UK, roughly 50 million people.
Yeah, I suppose it was a bit more, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you estimate it, and the mortality rate is 2%, that's 1 million people.
Mhm.
Well, this kills mostly the elderly.
Yeah.
And the elderly are a drain on our economy.
Yes.
You just are.
True.
I love you, Nan.
That's why they're increasing retirement age and why we have work-based
Yeah.
pensions.
But I was going to say, I always think about the Georgia Guidestones, though, and that basically says how we need to have a massive decrease of the population. So again, this leads into one of the big conspiracy theories, that this virus was created in a lab.
Yes, which there is a biochemical research facility that was built in Wuhan from the site where the virus was supposedly first mutated from a bat,
Yeah.
possibly, they're thinking, to a
bat,
human.
Yeah.
And that was the
That's what I think. It's just if they're blaming the meat in bat soup. I'm not sure you know how viruses work and how viruses don't like being cooked.
No,
But,
no, they have an optimal temperature range, and once you exceed that optimal temperature range, it kills them.
Yeah. And who's eating bat soup? Foreigners. It's so weird.
Yeah, I can't say it.
Just sprinkle some crickets in it. Do you know the weirdest thing I've ever been offered to eat?
Go on.
Toasted tarantula. You have to burn it first to get the little hairs off the legs.
Oh, of course.
I
Yeah.
politely declined. I didn't. I went, what? Why would you offer me that? And ran away. I don't like spiders. Right,
No.
so do you actually think this is the sort of thing? One of the theories is that it was designed by the Americans to attack the Chinese. The other one is it was something the Chinese were playing with that escaped. But either way, is this something that could be designed in a lab, could be being played with in a lab and got out? Is it possible?
No, I mean, it's possible, given that there's a facility very close that would possibly be playing around with SARS viruses.
It would only take one person as well.
It only take one person to get it out. However, the fact that they've narrowed it down to the Wuhan seafood and wildlife market.
They actually,
And they
they're
think
pretty
it's-
close even to that sort of location. They've nailed it down quite close, haven't they?
Yeah, so it makes me think it's unlikely. It makes me think it's more likely it's just a coincidence. And the reason that they built that facility in Wuhan was due to the 2002-2003 SARS outbreak.
Yeah, and other scientists have said that the SARS and then the MERS and then this, they are related. There's an evolution, and these viruses, they do evolve and they change, and that's normal. Flu virus changes every year. We have to have a new flu, and they have to. You know, we get the shots. I used to work for the NHS, and I used to have them all the time. They have to actually guess which strain they think is going to be the prevalent strain that year, and sometimes they get it wrong, and we have a massive spike in flu numbers. And sometimes they get it, they get it okay, but
Well, isn't it? It's not. It's always. There's influenza A, B, and C, isn't there? I think normally it's influenza A.
yeah, but then you get lots of little strands.
Oh yeah, no, they're the main three categories that they put all different strands into, but they normally pick a strand from influenza A, because I don't think B and
it's not as often.
C is very in common. B and C.
Yeah, but they have to. They have to actually try to plan ahead with it. So that's crazy. I just thought flu was flu. Nope. She also says actually the common cold is a type of coronavirus, or related to coronavirus family. So, and if you believe man flu, that's that. I mean, that's if women got man flu,
Yeah,
it'd be the end of the world.
The end of the world, indeed.
Crack that joke in front of my wife. She spent the next 10 minutes explaining how I moan constantly when I'm poorly. It's like, and she just goes to work, and I try to have any excuse to phone in sick. I work for the NHS, love. If I go to work, people might die because you've got a sniffle. Go to work. Well, okay. I actually think it's one thing that could be designed in a lab. It's possible. The other thing is, it feels a bit designer. And if you wanted to create a virus, you'd to like skim down a population, you'd want to kill the sick, the elderly, and not the children. And this disease actually does. This virus actually doesn't really attack children. Or they don't.
Or
seem
the
to,
fatality rate. Mortality rate's lower
seems much
in
lower in
children.
kids. That feels a bit on purpose. But if I'm honest, I don't believe that for a second.
It could be, or it could just be that children tend to have stronger immune systems because they're still growing.
Normally, like flu and stuff,
whereas elderly
it kills the young and the elderly. Normally. This doesn't. It just seems to kill young. Yeah. And so, I mean, I was watching a chap on the news today, and he was talking about how we don't really know this disease yet, this illness yet. I keep calling it a disease. It's not a disease. It's a virus. We don't really know this yet, and we're in the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be the most important bit. In 2 or 3 weeks' time, we'll understand this a lot better. We'll know what's going on. Right now, we don't. So
that's true with any new mutation of a virus, though.
Yeah.
Because until you've seen the effects for a reasonable period of time, and the longer that period of time is, the more accurate your statistics get.
Yeah.
Your sample size improves. Then you can make a better judgment. So if China have been not reporting the statistics for 3 weeks to a month prior to admitting to the outbreak in early January, when they're having cases from early December, the numbers could be significantly higher.
the mortality rate could be much higher.
Yeah, the fatality rate could be incorrectly calculated.
Well, let's remember that the mortality rate for SARS was around 8%. The mortality rate for MERS was about 35%.
Was it that high, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
roughly. 2,442 confirmed cases and 842 deaths with MERS.
Okay. So yeah, MERS was the Saudi Arabia outbreak, wasn't it? I think.
Bats to camels to humans,
Yeah.
I think.
And
So,
then SARS was the 2002, 2003
Chinese
outbreak
outbreak,
in
yeah.
China, which was...
Alright, so we'll talk about a couple of the other ones that are going around, because there's a few theories going around.
There are a few.
Panspermia is one of my favourites, and also one of my favourite words.
Yeah.
It's a good word, it rolls off the tongue. A British professor with a very British name, Chandra Wickramasinghe. See how I'm trying to read it as I'm trying to do the...
Yes, Chandra
Wickramasinghe. God. He has actually... he was a professor. This guy's a scientist. Right?
Oh, okay.
He says actually a comet, or a fragment of a comet, did explode over northeast China in October 2019. And they think that comets are just teeming with viruses. We have seen one of the Rosetta probes actually did detect the building blocks of life. It detected oxygen, it detected water, and it detected amino acids in the comet trail.
Yes.
And there are lots of theories about
I
life.
like to believe in the theory of panspermia. I think that comets having dormant microbial life in order to seed new planets that are capable of sustaining that life.
Some of our earlier episodes, we talk about extremophiles, these little things that you just can't kill. Radiation doesn't kill them. Being frozen doesn't kill them. They found spores of these things that are 4 million years old, and they said they were still alive. They could still hatch. I don't think they hatch, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
They called it. They were still viable, and 4 million years old. And I could understand that. We get like rocks from Mars and stuff on this planet. That's how we knew what Mars was made of before the Viking landers. We knew what the makeup of the planet was because we'd find meteorites every so often and go, "Ooh, that's not from here." And it's because a meteorite hits Mars, throws a bunch of stuff in the atmosphere, into space, and some of it lands on Earth. So why not over hundreds of millions of years, or whatever, from our solar system, stuff could transfer. I think this doctor or this professor seems to have forgotten though that the SARS and the MERS are quite closely related. And there seems to be an evolution. Because one of the things as well, he argues that it's very interesting that there's been such an initial focused concentration of sick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but isn't that kind of how it works?
That's how it works.
And a new virus?
Because if a virus is, let's say there is a bat in the Wuhan, seafood and wildlife market that is infected with the COVID-19 strain of coronavirus.
Yeah.
It then has to mutate across species.
Yeah, definitely, which is going to happen once.
Yes.
Sort of thing, and that's...
And then you'll then have the person-to-person infection after the original mutation from the animal, because far less people are going to actually touch the one bat that had this COVID-19 virus, than they are going to touch each other, kiss each other, shake hands, eat the same food together.
They have a queue of people waiting to lick a bat.
Because we're very social creatures, so the human-to-human
spread is much quicker.
Much quicker. So there will always be a localised hotspot where it initiates from.
You see the Ricky Gervais was talking about AIDS, and he said they found the ground zero, the patient zero of the first transmission.
Yeah,
and it says as well, this was either transmitted through blood. So you're either, because they think he was killing the chimpanzees illegally, wasn't he?
Yep.
So it's either through blood or sexually transmitted. And the bloke was like, I didn't kill a chimpanzee, or sexually transmitted. Oh, I killed a chimpanzee. Because it's either that or you bonked it. So,
definitely the former. Definitely the former.
Yeah, I was illegally slaughtering chimpanzees. Sorry. But yeah, that's what that's why a lot of these diseases seem to kick off in places like China as well, because they do seem to drag wildlife into their cities more than we do. Our meat delivered frozen, vacuum packed. We don't see many actual wildlife in our markets in Western Europe.
Whereas I think China's very different on that front.
And most of Asia is very different on that front. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they like to see their food kicking. It's like. So what do you think then? Could this virus have come from outer space? Could be an alien attack.
It's possible. I believe in the idea of panspermia.
Right. So get back to the. Another theory that is very popular on conspiracy websites is that it's 5G did it. Our new internet provider, 5G. Now, 5G seems to be very unpopular. And there seems to be a lot of people... every other conspiracy theory seems to be related to 5G. Now, I've seen a map today actually that says all the outbreaks of coronavirus... are in the same places around the world that 5G has been rolled out.
Is that just
they're
because
the industrial areas?
They're the countries with
where
the big
people actually
cities
live?
with big populations and where people actually live. Yes, I tend to agree. That's probably more likely than.
But also, how would the fear of 5G is because it's such a powerful signal, such strong radiation. And don't get me wrong, I don't think we need 5G. What I want to see is more efficient and say for 4G, and that would be fine with me. I don't see why I don't need 100 megabytes to my phone. I just don't. But it is quite powerful, and I don't want more radiation in space. I generally think that's why in the Western Europe sperm levels are going through the floor, and we're all having, we're all getting cancer.
All needing fertility treatment in order to have children.
And cancer rates are whoop.
Yeah, but
things like this.
if the government did know this about mobile phones and the fact that the electromagnetic radiation produced because of them talking between the phones and the cell towers all the time is making people sterile, it probably actually plays into their plans anyway, so they'd have no interest in telling you.
Even if the government released it and they generally said, actually, no, this isn't good for you, how many people do you think would generally go, well, I'm going to give my phone up then? Or how many people go,
I think
smokers know it's going to kill you and you still smoke?
Too many people are attached to the technology. They're far more attached to the technology.
A lot of people would get rid of it.
Than they are scared.
A lot of people,
of the side effects. Yeah. And also, the side effects are of the EM radiation from phones is you might get a mutation that develops into cancer later in life.
Yep.
Probably not now.
If 5G is killing us, so it's going to kill us with cancer. It's not going to kill us with a virus. I don't know how this... It's not logical to me, but maybe one of our lovely viewers will explain it to me. I actually certainly will. I'll probably be a very angry message I get as well. But... genuinely, explain it to me because I can't get my head around that. It's not logical to me.
Well, the signals, I suppose, the signals that we're transmitting, the frequency of the electromagnetic waves that we're transmitting,
high energy,
it's essentially, there are papers out there, scientific papers that show that mobile phones are carcinogenic and they do cause mutations and cause cancer. So could those same signals that we're sending mutate a virus as in the same way?
No, I like my phone.
Possibly.
So
well, it's possible. It's not outside the realms of possibility.
It's where
it's
I
not
get all
likely
my porn from, so I stop going on my phone.
And I think it's more likely that the virus was in a bat, mutated, and then cross species, as we've seen it do in previous SARS outbreaks. It's possible though.
If I have got coronavirus, by the way, you need to get my phone for me immediately. You know, back in the day, you used to have a deal with your best mate to go get my porn. You need to get my phone.
I suppose that is today's. Yeah,
I'll wipe it
probably
immediately. Just
factory restore.
Right, but luckily, with all this fear and the coronavirus, it can be cured. So we don't have a problem. There are many YouTube videos out there explaining exactly how we can cure this, and we can also cure AIDS, cancer, hepatitis, all the hepatitises, and there's several, autism, malaria, cancer, obviously, with this stuff called the Miracle Mineral Solution. Basically, I haven't told you about this, so you don't know a lot about this, but when I read about this, I just, because I wanted to hold it back, so I wanted to see your reaction, because it's brilliant. Right, so, Archbishop Jim Humble.
Stop there. Archbishop, I don't think you take scientific advice from somebody with a religious title, but anyway, carry on.
He has his own church called Genesis the Second, which is also just like these red flags just go pting, based out of Mexico, because the laws about being a church are a little looser in Mexico.
Okay,
so
right.
He was an aerospace engineer. He then owned a health food shop.
Right.
Hippie. And then he became a gold prospector. Right? While he was gold prospecting, he says he invented... Oh, he obviously found God. But he then invented this MMS solution, this miracle mineral solution, right? And if miracle's in the title, you should go red flag.
Yeah, there's 3 red flags already, but...
They're then very open about what it is, because one, they don't sell it as a medicine, right? When they're sending it between countries and things, because obviously there's quite tight laws.
Yes.
They send it and mark it up as water purifier, because that's basically what it is in its basic form. Its main ingredient is sodium chloride, which on its own is okay.
What, salt?
Yeah, kind of.
No,
but chlorite.
Exactly.
Chlorite.
Sodium chloride, NaCl.
Chlorite.
Chlorite, not chloride.
No, chlorite. You add an activator like lemon juice or anything acidic to sodium chlorite, and it becomes bleach. That's basically what bleach is.
Okay.
It's very caustic. The idea being, with this miracle cure, is that you get the sodium chloride, you add lemon juice, and you add water. And then you either drink it or put it up your bum in a colonic irrigation. And it's normally both. If you go to a clinic that pushes these things, they have a strict regimen of drinking MMS in the morning and then having a colonic irrigation in the afternoon. One of the reasons why you need the colonic irrigation, though, is it does give you explosive diarrhea.
Surely you don't need the colonic irrigation then, because you're already doing what the colonic irrigation is supposed to do.
It's going to clean... Oh, yeah, no, the colonic irrigation, I think, is just like as a pain relief.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think is that just clearing out the last of the chemicals that you've ingested, so that your arse is no longer burning like... I can't say that, can
flip. These guys that they're very big on the Q and the QAnon. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that does this, that really push this, and these guys are a bit of a political party, really. They generally believe Donald Trump is being persecuted, and they believe a bunch of other things. We'll do a video on one of the days. Nobody really knows who they are, but these guys are really pushing it. Jenny McCarthy's a big fan. She genuinely believes MMS cured her son of autism.
I didn't think autism was curable.
No. Definitely not by drinking bleach.
You're autistic. Well, we're all autistic to some extent, because they reckon it's a spectrum, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just at what point does it... It's like mental illness, isn't it?
At what point does it become a problem?
Yeah. For me, though, this is absolutely terrifying. The other thing is... right, so, if you drink this stuff... you get vomiting and you get explosive diarrhea.
You're not supposed to ingest this.
No, because it's bleach, basically. But the guys that actually then run these clinics say that's it working. That's the miracle working. That's the bad coming out of you. It's bleach.
Yeah, it's the bad coming out of you. It's the stuff you've just ingested.
It's the poison. Louis Daniel Smith was a big one in America. And when they caught him, because he was pushing this and he was actually telling people to mix it with lemon juice and drink it, he was jailed for 78 years for it.
Good.
So, or a maximum of 78 years, I should say.
Oh yeah, often free.
Yeah. And he actually, that was one of the things. He says, the vomit and the diarrhea means it's working. And it's just like, oh dear God. This stuff is terrible. Another good one that they also say is you're supposed to have a regimen of this MMS stuff. You're also supposed to drink, I'll just have a look, colloidal silver, which is basically silver in a bottle.
And then they drink it. I suppose there was that Goldschlager where they actually have, like, is it flakes of gold?
They have that in vodka as well,
in a vodka. So that's solid suspended in a solution, I suppose.
I saw a bottle of
it. Well, not nano because you can see them, but still.
It looks like silver paint. So it looks like
small particles or small flakes. Okay, yeah, right, okay. So colloidal silver, right?
Yeah, you're supposed to drink that, and that, according to an evangelical I saw on the TV today, has been proven to treat SARS and MERS. So even though there is no evidence to say it'll help with the new novel coronavirus, it helps with the other two. So we should start drinking colloidal silver. No, we shouldn't. There's no evidence that it does that. And it's even selling this, they should all go to prison, like now.
Well, it's just people jumping on the bandwagon with whatever they've got available to sell at a huge markup and exploit people for as much money as possible whilst they're panic struck about a pandemic outbreak.
Yeah,
primarily, that will be what the cures that people are selling are really about.
It's snake oil. It's always the same. I actually genuinely think with the colloidal silver, they're mixing up with werewolves. So they've made an error. They're churchgoers. They mix these things up. Silver kills werewolves, not SARS.
Right, okay.
Silly fucking... Right, anyway. If you then drink enough MMS, though, you definitely won't die from novel coronavirus or cancer or AIDS or anything else that you've got.
No.
Because this stuff causes renal failure, and that will kill you.
Okay.
So
So don't listen to them.
Yeah.
And don't take
Please,
colloidal silver.
God, don't gargle bleach. It's not good for you. I did, however, convince a mate to dip his winky in bleach once because he
Why would you do that?
he had an itchy winky from putting it somewhere
Somewhere
he shouldn't.
have done. Right, yeah. The
So we told
doctor's
him-
the best treatment for that. I would. How would you?
Yeah,
how did
he
you?
didn't want his wife to find out, so we told him to dip it in bleach. Any of your mates go, I know what you should do. Don't do it, especially blokes.
Whilst drunk.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. We
Trying
were
to
drunk.
solve a problem.
Yeah, we shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Anyway, on a serious note, with the coronavirus, this is actually really, really bad. It could be really bad.
Oh yeah, it really could.
So, please, wash your hands regularly. It only takes 20 seconds. Don't worry, after whatever you're doing, just wash your hands regularly. If you genuinely think you're poorly and you've got to think, don't go out and don't go in an Uber to go to the hospital, you moron that did that in this country. Stupid woman. Just keep yourself and wash your hands.
Well,
you can go and eat in Chinese restaurants. I genuinely saw somebody on Fox News ask this question to a scientist, and the scientist sat there and went, yeah, why, what? Maybe don't go to a Chinese restaurant in
Wuhan?
city. But other than that, yeah, you're
well,
right.
maybe actually, we'll don't go to a Chinese restaurant in the Hubei province.
Yeah.
That's probably where
Other
you want
than
to
that,
avoid.
You're all right.
Other than that,
And
Chinese
can I
restaurants
get
probably
my
fine.
Amazon parcel from China, if it's a product from China? Like, yeah, you're okay with that. I say that though, this virus on certain surfaces can survive up to 9 days. I can touch your face like that, and with my coronavirus that I've definitely got, that can sit on your face for 9 days at room temperature.
And then I'll come and give it you back.
The punch.
Once you're over the virus, you'll get reinfected. Yeah,
Exactly. On copper and steel, it only lasts about 2 hours. But even if you think someone's coughing on the hands and they're touching like the
door
handle or the subway thing, it's like, Jesus Christ.
So it is very imperative, yes, to what's the word?
Wash your hands.
Yes, to have a good hygiene in this in these dark times.
And in our country, obviously, we're not to worry about Chinese food. It's Italian food we need to worry about, because most of our places are pizza places. How many restaurants in the town centre are Italian? And in Europe, Italy's the main problem. They've all got it.
Yep.
So I like pizza. All right, that's our look at coronavirus. Really hoping this just blows over. And it just goes like every other...
Might hang back on releasing this episode. See how it pans out for the next week or two first.
Just make sure that 100 million people don't drop dead in the next week. Or like in like a post-apocalyptic world. Like, I really shouldn't have done that video. Really shouldn't have laughed about the coronavirus quite as much as we did. I nearly bought a load of Corona beer, by the way, but I thought that might be pushing it. So I decided against it. But seriously, please wash your hands, please look after yourselves, and thanks for watching.
See you next week.
If there is a next week.
Well, yeah. Seem to have rolled my wheelchair into your car whilst you were travelling down the road.
I remember...
I'll just pull myself back up off of the floor into my wheelchair and roll back onto the pavement so you can drive on.
I'm so sorry. I remember I got there's a taxi driver ages ago, and he cut me up and he really wound me up. So I basically chased him, and it wasn't a good time in my life. I was a bit angry at other things, but we won't go into that.
No.
But I basically was trying to get him out of the taxi and I wanted to hit him, and I was like, I was really having a go at him. And then halfway through, I sort of realised what I was doing, and I actually had his windscreen wiper in my hand at the time. And I went, I'm so sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, I apologise, I got my car, drove away.
The road rage took over. I must
Very
apologise.
sorry.